What is up? Good evening, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. My name is Kyle. Happy Wednesday night, June 11th here. We're moving along with our mock draft live streams every Wednesday night. Tonight, we're going to be picking from the 5-hole in a full PPR 12-team ESPN mock draft. So we'll get this queued up here in a sec. And then we're going to do a bonus mock after this. And that's going to be on Sleeper. If you guys want to join it, I did put the link to the Sleeper mock. It's right there. If you guys want to join it, it's a 10-team league. It's a 3-wide receiver setup for the rosters, full PPR. This was a request from our good friend Kerry G. He commented on looks like our mock draft pick 2 video. 10-man sleeper, 3-wide receiver set, 6th pick. So I'll be picking from the 6th spot. So check that out. We'll get to that after the ESPN League. And good evening to, we got Tony. I think Tony's picking 6th. Good evening to Aiden. I thought Aiden's picking 12. And then I did see Harris sneak in. And welcome, Harris. I think this is his first mock draft Wednesday with us. He's picking from the 3-hole. So welcome, everybody. And cheers. Thanks for hanging out with me on a Wednesday evening. We've got about 30 seconds left, and I just want to comment. If you guys are new to the fellowship, I did put a promo code out there on the fantasyfellowship.com. It's a summer special. If you use code SUMMER at checkout on the fellowship season package, which is good for a whole calendar year, normally $50, I got it for $30 for you guys. So this code's good till July 31st. $30 gets you access to the whole year. And I did just put my projections up on the website so you guys can check out those. There's a link to my projection database on the Google Sheets. And then you guys can see everything here, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. And then I do all the various formatting for that. So check that out. Projections are live. I think maybe this weekend or next week, I'm going to put up like redraft rankings and start to get dialed in and start to do some data studies and some things like that. So we're moving and grooving here. The draft has started. Jamar Chase, 101, Bijan Robinson, 102. I think if I'm sitting at the 105, I mean, I put Jahmyr Gibbs on the cover. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs. Justin Jefferson, I'm fine with. We took him 4th last week. But Gibbs, Lamb, Puka, that's kind of the 3 I'm thinking about. And Justin Jefferson does go, so it's kind of chalk right now. I love CeeDee Lamb. I love Puka. I like both those receivers. But to me, I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is about as sure thing as the running back position I think you can get. I'm probably going to like the wide receivers that we're looking at probably in round 2. I think there's going to be some guys there. So let's go ahead and grab Jahmyr Gibbs and see how the punches roll. And good evening to Ron. Good evening, Ron. I think this is our first time hanging out with you this summer. So thanks for hanging out, my man. This is our 5th mock draft of the year, and we have that bonus. We have a bonus mock draft tonight in the Sleeper app. So if you guys want to join that, I have it queued up here. Looks like Aiden jumped in there. It's a 10-man draft. We're doing this as a comment on one of my YouTube channel videos. And if you guys have any other specific mock drafts that you'd want to see, I think I'm going to continue to run an ESPN mock draft on Wednesday nights. But if you guys need to see something on Yahoo or Sleeper, I haven't really messed with any of the other stuff. You know, Yahoo, ESPN, and Sleeper, those are pretty much where I'm playing. But then I do plan on getting some best balls out there soon. But let's recap. After I take Jahmyr Gibbs, you have CeeDee Lamb to Tony, Puka Nacua, which if you guys go get that fellowship season package for just $30, Puka Nacua is my wide receiver 1 in my projections. That doesn't mean he's my number 1 receiver in my rankings. I think that's still going to be Jamar Chase. But Puka Nacua's rankings came out pretty hot, or his projections came out pretty hot for me. Ashton Genty, I'm starting to see Amon-Ra St. Brown dip in best ball drafts. He's starting to slip into the 2nd round. He had some off-season surgery to clean up some things. It just says to clean up some stuff. It was a knee procedure. Still not really participating much at mandatory minicamp, but hopefully we'll see him ready to go come August for training camp. So we'll monitor Amon-Ra St. Brown. I haven't been clicking on him a lot. I usually like getting Gibbs in the 1st round if I can. Derrick Henry, Tyreek, and then Aiden just can't help it. Brian Thomas Jr. at 12. That's kind of a free square right now. I did see Brian Thomas Jr. got a little dinged up at practice today, but I think he'll be fine. It sounded like he just landed hard on his shoulder or something. But Aiden goes BTJ and AJB. Christian McCaffrey, Devon Achane, those are two of my favorite picks for running back in round 2. And then Malik Neighbors falling here. Nico Collins falling. I think Jacobs is a good pick. I'm a little bit nervous about JT. But we're on the clock here. We got Bucky, Brock, Kieran, Drake London, James Cook. To me, there's a huge tier break at the receiver position here. I think Drake London is in my second tier of like really strong wide receiver 1 studs. I do like Bucky. I love Brock, but we're going to grab Drake London here. And he fits one of my rules, I think, this year. Like, you have 2 elite Atlanta Falcons players, Bijan Robinson, who goes in the top 5, and then Drake London, who I think should be a top first-round pick. Getting him in the second round feels a little cheap, like a good value here. He was wide receiver 5 last year. We're getting year 2 of Michael Penix, and his numbers did not slow down with Michael Penix. I think Penix took over the last 4 games, and we saw some slob games here, 18 and 13 targets to finish the year from Michael Penix to Drake London. So I'm not afraid of Michael Penix. I want Drake London on my teams this year. All right, that's good to know. But yeah, I was Jaguars camp was nice and early this morning to avoid the heat, so I was monitoring some of those reports. But we're moving in round 2. I just grabbed Drake London to be my wide receiver 1. Let me just kind of show you guys what some of the projections look like for this year. And I only finished these last week. I do have some tinkering and some things to do, but overall, I feel pretty good about where my projections came out. And what I do, if you guys are new to my stuff, like I project each team fully. You know, I got, 3 quarterbacks for every team. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs, 6 receivers, 3 tight ends. For every team, I do that. And then I compile it all and figure out what I'm looking at here. I got Drake London up here at wide receiver 6. I'm going to have to just ding him on St. Brown just a little bit from that knee procedure. Just don't know if he's going to be 100% ready for the season start, or if he gets off to a slow start. That wouldn't surprise me. But we'll take a peek at those in a little bit. I'm on the clock here. Looks like we have Trey McBride, top tight end available, and I don't think a quarterback has been taken yet. So I could take tight end 2 or QB1. Devontae Adams graded out really well in my rankings. I think he could be a problem. I mentioned I like Puka Nacua quite a bit, but something about Devontae Adams excites me with our guy. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to grab Trey McBride. Just getting one of the elite tight ends, I think, in fantasy football is a big cheat code. And man, like if this guy caught more than 2 touchdowns, and he caught them week 17 and 18, if Trey McBride catches 5, 6, 7 touchdowns last year, he would be the clear tight end 1, I think, even over Brock Bowers. So I see touchdowns jumping up for our guy McBride, and his target totals are just pretty insane. So I feel very, very good with Trey McBride, and we have a well-balanced start here of Gibbs, London, and Trey McBride to start this draft. Devontae Adams goes to Tony here. We didn't see Devontae drop off at all last year. Still putting up 20s and a 42 and another 20. He's still putting up some monster numbers, and you're going to put him with basically the same style of quarterback in Matthew Stafford. I can see big numbers for Devontae Adams, and he actually graded out pretty well too. I got him at wide receiver 13 in my PPR projections right now. I'll kind of zoom in a little bit more here. That's roughly the top 18 or so guys. So big Devontae Adams value, I think right now. People are going to be kind of downgrading him just because of age and possibly being the number 2 to Puka. But man, that's probably one of the best 1-2 wide receiver duos in the league. Maybe Chase Higgins can compete with it, but I think Nacua, Devontae might be the best duo wide receiver in football this season. Third round, you got, after I took McBride, you got Devontae Adams to Tony, Lamar, Josh Allen. So third round is a good spot to pull a quarterback 1 if you want it. I have no issues with Lamar, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels. I think if I'm just going to take one in a vacuum, it's probably still Lamar Jackson. I'm a little bit nervous on Josh Allen. I just don't know if they're continuing to give him enough receiver talent to be the man. And, if touchdowns regress from him or if they get injured, who knows what's going to happen there. So I still prefer Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. I think they're in a safer environment where, it's more on them running, and they don't really need a ton of help at receiver to make their fantasy days. Whereas Josh Allen, yeah, he still runs a lot, but I think his receiver cast is a little bit weaker than the others. I'm good with Garrett Wilson here. Aiden grabs Jalen Hurts to pair with his AJB, and then he takes a Joe Mixon here. Baker Mayfield. Yeah, let's talk about that. That's good to bring up there, Aiden. RJ Harvey. he was being like a 4th or 5th round pick. I almost wonder. Yeah, he's right. He's ranked right here at RB 51. We'll talk about him in a little bit after I make my pick. I'm on the board here. I could take Omarion Hampton. I could take DJ Moore, Mike Evans, George Kittle. If I wanted to wait for tight end, that would have been a good fit for me. But I'm not sure what his outlook's going to be this season, but I really like Omarion Hampton. We'll grab him as our running back too. I think he's going to get a lot of play time. Running backs drafted in the 1st round, it's always a good idea to put those guys on your fantasy team. But let's go back to RJ Harvey. And I have him down here at RB 29. I'm not super high on him, but I think he's going to be the pass catching back in this offense. And then I do have J.K. Dobbins here, RB 38. I think both guys are going to kind of eat into each other's workload, especially with carries. And then it's just going to be a matter of, can RJ Harvey pass protect and can he stay on the field in 3rd down situations? I think both Dobbins and Harvey are likely, RB3s for you. You're not going to feel comfortable drafting them as your RB2. They're both going to slot in as your flex or your first running back off the bench. And I think that's fine. There's also a chance RJ Harvey is just better than J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins, though he did look pretty good last year, Dobbins has never really been able to stay healthy for a full season or put it all together. So maybe Harvey is just the lead guy. I don't know. It's a leap of faith. But yeah, a little bit of a ding for RJ Harvey, who's going to continue to fall here throughout the rest of summer, at least. And yeah, so far we got 2 really good young running backs on this team in Gibbs and Hampton. I'm going to want a solid RB3 just in case Hampton isn't, producing top end numbers for me. But I do think as far as Najee Harris being his only competition, like Hampton's getting all the 3rd down work and he's getting all the explosive plays for this Chargers offense. I just, a little bit worried about goal line opportunities. Maybe the touchdowns aren't there for him in year 1, but I do think he's going to lead the backfield in touches. I feel pretty good about that, actually. But yeah, round 5's tricky. I could grab Worthy, James Conner, Quinshon Judkins, David Montgomery. If I wanted to wait for tight end, I think Sam Laporta is a really good option. Look at the receivers here. I think Devonta Smith, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, even George Pickens, Romo Dunze. This is setting up to be a really good opportunity to grab a young wide receiver. And I'm going to stick here to the top of the board here with Xavier Worthy, who really came on strong to end the season. We saw a lot of targets for him, just a lot of quick ways to get him the ball. And we started to see him evolve as a receiver. Like before they were, half the year, they were just kind of doing gadgety stuff with him. But I like that I get built-in rushing upside and some fun plays with Xavier Worthy. He's attached to Pat Mahomes. I'll go with Xavier Worthy here. And yeah, Najee, what's the difference between Najee Harris and Gus Edwards last year? They're basically the same player. I think Najee's just a couple of years younger than Gus. So I would expect Najee to be in that Gus Edwards role, and all the high value touches are going to go to Hampton. But it is going to suck if we get, 1st and goal from the 3-yard line and Najee Harris is in there, not Omarion Hampton. That's really the only thing that I think that could limit Hampton's upside is if he loses some of that goal line work. But overall, I have everything looking good for Omarion Hampton. Let me see where he came out for me. I got him as RB12, so I do feel pretty good about him. I even gave him 7 rushing touchdowns this year, 44 receptions. I might downgrade some of that rushing touchdown volume and put some more receiving work into his profile. But either way, I think Hampton, you're getting a potential RB1 profile with Omarion Hampton. We know he's good. We know Justin Herbert throws to the running back. It's pretty exciting to me. And I love the Chargers offense we always have here. Tony does grab RJ Harvey here in the 5th round. I think I'm probably taking James Conner. I'm probably taking David Montgomery, some of those for sure, guys that are going to get in the end zone. And when they touch the ball, we know what's going to happen. Harvey, to me, probably slides down in somewhere into the 6th or 7th round. But for now, it's June. Maybe in training camp, we just see that RJ Harvey's the better back. And they're just like, yep, we're going to give RJ Harvey's our lead back. He's going to get as many touches as he can handle. And J.K. Dobbins is the backup. If we do get clarity on that, that would be nice. Look at the round 6 value on receivers here. Zay Flowers, Devonta Smith, Calvin Ridley, and Rome Odunze. That's pretty sick. I love all 4 of those. I love all 4 of these picks in the 5th round. To get them in the 6th round in a 12-team league, that is well done. That's just good value. Even Jerry Jeudy here. We're all getting potential wide receiver 2s, and these guys all have massive spike weeks built into their arsenal. I feel pretty good about grabbing one of those receivers here. You got George Pickens still here, even Jameson Williams, who I know I have Jahmyr Gibbs, but Tony says he's an RJ Harvey believer. Me too, man. I took I had a rookie draft a few weeks back, and I took RJ Harvey, I think maybe 10th overall, and I feel very, very good about him. I just, with J.K. Dobbins being there for year one, just a little bit of a worry there. Sorry about that. We're on the clock here. We have our 2 receivers. We have our 2 running backs and our tight end. I don't know if I'm crazy about grabbing one of these veteran running backs here. I do like myself some Travis Hunter. I do like some Ted McMillan here, but I'm going to continue to add big playmakers and go with Jameson Williams here, who, again, Amon-Ra's got a little bit of a neat thing going on. So this is originally my wife's dog. It's a little Chihuahua. It's an Applehead Chihuahua. Her name is Rosie. She's a 7-year-old Chihuahua. She must have been barking at some birds. So she's doing what she do. But anyways, Jameson Williams, man, 1,000 yards last year. I don't see why he can't go for another 1,000 yards. He gets carries for, big chunks of plays every now and then. And if anything happens to Amon-Ra St. Brown, man, we're looking at a guy that could be in for a monster year. And I know he's got some lows, but they do find a way to get him 8 to 9, 10 PPR points for the most part. And he is a big play waiting to happen. So I'm happy to collect Jameson Williams as my flex. We see the veteran running backs go, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard. I'm fine with those guys. They're both good players. I just, when I'm drafting a veteran running back like that, I want to make sure I have at least a quality number 3 and number 4 running back on the team. The value here is going to shift towards like veteran receivers right now. You got some veteran backs like Pacheco, Stevenson, Javonte. What does the chat feel about Javonte Williams being the lead back for Dallas? I think he's worth putting on your bench in fantasy drafts just to see what you got. I think he's a sound pass protector. He's good at pass catching. We just know he doesn't have the juice that he's had before his knee injury. But this pick is pretty easy. If I can get this to slide through, Juwan Jennings, Cooper Kupp, Ted McMillan. So we see a run of some good receiver picks. I'm on the board here. I kind of want to keep taking running backs because they're going to thin out really quick. But I can't pass up on Chris Olave, man. I know he's had some issues the last couple of years staying healthy with concussions, but talent-wise, I mean, he was a round 2 pick last year in a lot of drafts. He was playing well before the injury. You got a rookie quarterback who hopefully will just pummel Chris Olave with targets. I'm fine with putting Olave there as my wide receiver 4 on the bench. Other picks, I mean, I'm fine with Travion Henderson here. I love Jordan Addison. I think he's a great pick at this range. And I think taking chances on these running backs, Pacheco, Stevenson, Javonte Williams. We know what we're getting with Khalil Shakir. He's always double digits, pretty much double digits every game. And then I do feel good about some of the tight ends here. Njoku, Mark Andrews. Feeling good about some of these veteran receivers, Diggs, Samuel, Chris Godwin. But I do need a quarterback coming up at some point. So we'll see what we do. But 7th round, man, you're getting a lot of big names here. Kelsey, Kupp, Olave, Addison, and a rookie here in Ted McMillan and Travion Henderson. I'm curious what the chat likes or dislikes about Ted McMillan. I think to get him round 7, he should be the number 1 rookie receiver off the board. I think I'm going to rank him higher than Travis Hunter for redrafts. I'm going to put Travis Hunter probably over McMillan for Dynasty, but McMillan's looking at maybe 120, 130 targets as a rookie. I'm not quite sure what we're getting with Travis Hunter yet, but pretty good value there for Mr. McMillan. And then I'm curious, I'm a Packer guy. I think Jaden Reed and Matthew Golden are going to be great 1-2 receivers for the Packers this year. My money's on Jaden Reed to lead the team in wide receiver fantasy points this year, but I do think Matthew Golden could end up leading this team in receiving yards right away as a rookie. We'll see how he blends in. But Jaden Reed, man, round 8 pick. I know he was kind of phased out of the offense, and he was not really a guy we wanted to start after the bye week. But before the first 6-7 games, he was on fire, and I do expect him to get better in year 3. So I like Jaden Reed quite a bit. I'm liking this board right now, though. Round 8, we got a good board falling to us. And I did this in last weekend's mock, or last Wednesday's mock. I waited for QB because I'm comfortable with many of these quarterbacks at this point of the draft. Murray, like all of these guys on this list, probably do about CJ Stroud, even Jared Goff and Tua, Stafford and Trevor Lawrence. Like there's so many quarterbacks where I'm not going to try and squeeze it in there. But we're on the clock here. Matthew Golden is on the board, but I feel good with my 4 wide receivers. Oh, it's Ramondre versus Jaylen Warren for me. I think they're both very, very talented backs. I'm gonna take my guy Jaylen Warren. I just can't quit him, guys. He was kind of dinged up last year, but we saw some really nice games where he gets his 11 to 12 carries. Man, we know we're getting a startable week. I don't know if Caleb Johnson's going to get as many carries and touches as people think he's going to get. I know for sure Jaylen Warren's going to be involved as a receiver. Very good chance that he has a career year this year. Aiden's just repeating what he did last week, he says. Let's take a look. Hurts, Mixon, Montgomery with Tracy as RB3. Receivers are BTJ, AJB, Zay Flowers, and Jaden Reed. Solid team. You're just going to have to come up with some tight end points. But Aiden's always fishing for tight end. He has a pretty good eye for some rookie tight ends. Yeah, there's a lot to like here still on this board. I think I'm feeling good about my running back and receiver depth. I'm feeling good with Trey McBride, obviously. I'm probably going to end up drafting 2 QBs. How do I take Jaylen Warren over Brian Robinson? I'm not super excited about Brian Robinson. I don't think he's a very exciting back. You look at some of his games, man. Some of his games are, especially down the stretch, if he's not scoring you a touchdown, you're probably not going to have a good week. He doesn't get a ton of volume in the receiving game. For him to score, he needs to, be getting big touches, the touchdowns to fall. I'm fine with Brian Robinson, but for me in a PPR league, I'm looking for those pass catching backs. So that's just kind of how it shakes out for me. I don't think he's super talented. I kind of like Austin Eckler just as much. And I probably wouldn't draft both guys on the same team, Harris. If anything, I would probably just prefer Eckler in a vacuum in a PPR team. But to me, Brian Robinson, I don't feel good about him as my RB2 every week. Just because he needs that touchdown, he needs that volume in order to make it. We're on the clock here. I'm kind of looking at Stephon Diggs here, guys. Drug dealing Diggs. And then I could be done at receiver, I suppose. Mark Andrews is a pretty good value this late. I think Cam Scatterbo is worth putting on the bench. I'm going to grab Stephon Diggs. He's a wide receiver 1 for his team. I know he's coming off a knee injury. But Harris says, I think he could be potentially the best pick in the entire draft. I would be shocked if Brian Robinson is the best pick in the entire draft. I'm not super excited about Brian Robinson, but I think he's a valuable running back 3. But I don't see any way where he's a top 10, top 12 running back in fantasy football unless he scores like 18 touchdowns. I do agree Reed could be a league winner for sure. I'm curious what some of the other guys think about Mr. Brian Robinson. My bad. I'm pretty low on Robinson. I got him as RB 36. I just don't know if I see it all aligning there. Jaden Daniels eats up some of the volume in the red zone. Austin Eckler is going to get a fair share of targets. I think he's a fine bench running back. I don't know if I'm going to feel good about him starting every week. To me, he's basically the same thing as Tank Bigsby. When Bigsby gets that volume, you're feeling good, but he needs that touchdown to really put him over the top. Why take Brian Robinson when I can just take Tank Bigsby a couple rounds later, I guess is one way to look at it. Yeah, the advanced metrics don't love Brian Robinson. He's basically another Najee Harris to me, where you're just banking on the volume. And so a lot of times I'm wrong. Some guys just get a ton of volume, even though I don't like them. But I was wondering if the Commanders would draft a running back this year. They did not draft one. I think they added one, but I don't think they drafted one. So we'll see. He's going to lead the team in carry, so I'll give you that. But I just view him as nothing more than a RB2-3 flex option for you this year. Whereas Jaylen Warren, I know Jaylen Warren's talented. He's playing with Aaron Rodgers, who's going to dump off the ball. If I'm getting 11 to 12 carries from Jaylen Warren and these, 3, 4, 5 receptions per game, I'm getting double digits every game. I can comfortably start that as my RB2. So to me, it's Jaylen Warren all day. And I'm not super crazy on I got him as RB25, but I do think he's going to be a more consistent asset for fantasy teams this year. I do need a quarterback. I'm looking at some of these guys here. I also want to just load up my team with some running backs here. I could grab Justin Herbert, which would be kind of fun. I get Herbert and Omarion Hampton here. Yeah, nobody's really collecting. I think that was last week too. You were able to get Brandon Ayuk for cheap. People are just kind of ignoring him. I'm excited to see what he looks like in training camp soon. There are some interesting receivers still on the board here, but I'm kind of glad I cashed out of that. But Ayuk, definitely somebody that I want on my bench for as cheap as he is. That's a great pick. Justin Fields. I do kind of like Drake May. I do have Stephon Diggs on the team. I could grab Drake May. I think I'm going to wait and see what happens here, though. I'm on the clock right now. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab that Tank Bigsby and see what happens. Just put him on my bench. If I need him as my RB4, I do feel good about that. And we were looking at Bigsby's numbers earlier. I am interested in seeing what happens with Bashal Tutin. But in games where this guy, Tank Bigsby, gets volume, usually ends up getting points, ends up getting the touchdown. I think in games where the Jags are probably favored to win, I want to probably play Tank Bigsby, and he does have random games where he's going to run for 100 yards. So to me, he's, and I don't think Tank Bigsby's amazing either, but I do like the profile. He's probably the leading ball carrier for the Jags, probably leads the team in touchdowns. And exactly, yeah, just so I feel good about Bigsby on my bench. He's just the guy that, hey, if I need to, if Gibbs or Hampton are on bye, let's see what Tank Bigsby can do. I'm starting to really like the lottery potential for Jordan Mason, who we know is a good runner. He didn't really have success in the red zone last year. He's not really a pass catcher, but Aaron Jones ain't getting any younger. If anything happens to Aaron Jones, we're looking at a nice volume opportunity for Jordan Mason. So he's a guy that I don't mind putting on my bench. I think Tyler Algier is fine on your bench. Tyjae Spears is a good player to put on the bench as well, especially in a PPR league. That's kind of the profile that you're looking for. I still like Tyjae Spears quite a bit. But I'm probably going to pull my QB here. I think it's time we get the QB1 out of the way. Trey Benson, that's a good pick there by Mr. Charlie here on the far bottom right. Justin Fields, man, I should probably take a higher look at Justin Fields, but I'm going to go with Drake May. I do feel pretty good about Drake May being a top 10, top 12 QB this year. I want to see, where did he come out in my numbers? He's at QB 13. So I do feel good about Drake May. I'm actually a little bit lower on Justin Fields than the ESPN rankings, but I have Drake May ahead of Caleb Williams, ahead of Dak Prescott, even ahead of Baker Mayfield and Bo Nix. So Drake May looking like a fringe running back or quarterback one for me. Moving into the 12th round, though, this is the point where we're going to see some kickers and defenses come off the board, basically just filling out the bottom of our benches. I have 3 more bench spots to fill. I for sure want to grab one more quarterback. I'm going to just shout out some sleeper running backs. Aiden just grabbed Bashal Tutin, who I like quite a bit. Jordan Mason's definitely a lottery ticket. I think Jaden Blue, a potential lottery ticket if he's just better than Javonte Williams or if Javonte gets hurt. I think handcuffs down here, like Marshawn Lloyd, still very interested in Marshawn Lloyd's talent. Wasn't able to stay on the field last year. The guy that really no one's talking about is Jalen Wright. I see him taking a huge step forward this year. When he did get the ball, he looked pretty good. And I do want to see him more involved as a receiver. I think he's been working on that this summer. So Jalen Wright, definitely a guy I like. Will Shipley's the RB2 in Philadelphia. Even Rico Dowdle down here in Carolina interests me a little bit. So there are some running backs that I like still. Let's go ahead and look at that quarterback position. Justin Fields is still out there, so I'll go ahead and grab Justin Fields. So I got dual QBs, Drake May, Justin Fields. We'll see how it goes. A lot of good QBs still available. What's the chat think about Michael Penix, man? We didn't see him light the scoreboard up. He had 3 starts last year. Not great passing percentage, but again, he's a rookie. Last few games of the year, he got better each game, though. Ended off with a banger. I know it was against Carolina, but 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, rushes for a touchdown. I think there's some potential here with Michael Penix Jr., a healthy Darnell Mooney as the wide receiver, too. And if we get anything out of Kyle Pitts one of these years, man, there's going to be points to be scored in ATL. And yeah, Atlanta was a little bit dysfunctional last year. It was pretty much just hand the ball off to Bijan, throw to Drake London. I would like to think we see a little bit of evolution in that offense this year for Penix. But I do think for Superflex, he's looking really good as a Superflex QB2 option. I do like him quite a bit there. Probably not ready to be a top 12 fantasy QB, but I think he's going to have some high highs, some low lows expected of a year 2 young quarterback like that. Nobody wants Dak Prescott, but man, this team is built to throw the ball again. No real running backs on the team. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert, a ton of pass-catching running backs. Dak Prescott could easily be a top 5, top 10 quarterback this season. And I think no one's really giving Rashid Shaheed much respect. He was one of the best receivers in fantasy football last year for a little bit. I'm going to grab one of the sleepers that I still like is Josh Downs. I think he belongs on everybody's fantasy bench this year. He led the Colts in pretty much everything last year. 72 catches, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. He got a carry. That's fine. And I know that when Josh Downs is healthy, good chance that he's going to be the leading receiver for the Colts. I think he's hopped Michael. I don't know where Michael Pittman Jr. went in this draft, but give me Josh Downs round 13 all day, every day in a full PPR league. And we did see Anthony Richardson's got some shoulder stuff right now. There's a good chance that we see Daniel Jones start a good amount of games this year, which is probably a good thing for Josh Downs. So I'm very much into Josh Downs. He's my wide receiver 6 here. I'm going to probably walk it off here with one more running back pick, and we'll see what happens at defense and kicker. And if you guys are still hanging out with me and you missed the beginning, we're going to be doing a sleeper mock draft after that. It looks like we got Aiden in here. I think Ron's in there. We got Tony and Harris. We're going to be running it back with a sleeper mock draft here. So you guys can join that. Just scroll up to the top of the comments. We'll do this shortly after the ESPN draft. 10-team PPR draft there on Sleeper. And Aiden grabs Trevor Lawrence, man. Oh, the Jags, dude. Trevor Lawrence was starting to put it together before he got hurt last year. I think the Jags offense, from about week 5 to 9, Trevor Lawrence, 21, 17, 15, 23, 19, hitting those 2 touchdown passes per game, running the ball a good amount of times, getting those rushing touchdowns. I think Trevor Lawrence, fantastic QB2 option for Superflex leagues. I'm on the board here. Did someone grab Tony grabbed my Jalen Wright pick. That's unfortunate. Marshawn Lloyd, Woody Marks, we'll see about him pretty soon. I'm going to go ahead and just grab Rico Dowdle, who I know is going to be the RB2 for the Carolina Panthers. I do like Chuba Hubbard, but if you guys watched any of the stuff last year, we were big Rico Dowdle fans. So I know he's a competent back. He's going to get some base work. Lottery ticket if Chuba Hubbard goes down. And we'll say RIP to Jonathan Brooks. I think Trevor Lawrence is in for a pretty big year. You got Brenton Strange in there, gobbling targets. You got pass-catching running backs with Tootin and ETN, and probably the best receiver group that he's had since being in Jacksonville. So wheels up for Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence, man, I got him as QB9, Aiden. So you don't got to tell me about Mr. Lawrence. One of the best values on the board, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, 2. These guys are pretty much going undrafted in ESPN right now. So take those values when you can. I do have to start doing some research here on the defenses to see who I'm going to start keying up. But My Packers defense looked pretty good last year. Where did they finish? They're defense number 3 last year. They finished the season really strong on a high note. I do like the Jets defense, even though they kind of struggled down the stretch last year. Can't really go wrong with the Eagles defense. They were shut down. They were lockdown defense last year. I always like the Chiefs defense. They're always going to be in the games, and they're always going to make big plays at the time they need to make them. That might be the way to do it, man. Just wait for your QBs. And I know it's ESPN. Like when we're doing our big drafts, everyone's going to be a little bit sharper than these ESPN drafts. But they are kind of showing the market right now. And I think if you're doing a 12-team redraft league, waiting for QB makes a ton of sense. You could pull off Goff, Lawrence, even Love, Purdy, Drake May, Caleb, Dak. Like I think, this group right here, that's kind of the group that I want to be waiting for. And you can grab 2 of them. You basically get 2 chances to try and hit a home run and get a top 5, top 10 QB. Because one of those guys is going to end up tossing 35, 40 touchdowns this year. It might be Trevor Lawrence. It might be Jordan Love. It might be Dak Prescott. Could be Brock Purdy with CMC back. That's where I'm liking the value this year. And we'll make our final pick here with kickers. I'm just going to take a peek here at what our boy Harris was doing today. He grabs Jordan Love. Love that pick. He's got Saquon Barkley and Tony Pollard, top 2 running backs. Receivers look like Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, and Cortland Sutton. So some good value on some veteran receivers there. Brock Bowers, tight end 1. Really rock solid roster from Harris in the starting unit. Look at the bench here. Cooper Kupp, Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Tajay Spears, Roshan Johnson, and then we got the rookie Trey Harris here with Bryce Young on the bench. I like it. I think this is a pretty deep team, pretty good starting unit, and I think all those guys on your bench are going to be useful at some point. So I like what Harris did there. And we can talk about Brian Robinson later, Harris. I'm not telling you not to take him. I just don't know if I see the ceiling that you're seeing there with our guy. I'm on the board here. I'll go Dan the Man Carlson. He's a good kicker for the Raiders. They're going to score points. I'll recap my team last year. Tony walks it off with – who did he take? Who did Tony take with his last pick? Tony grabbed Kaimi Fairbairn, one of my favorite kickers to draft. So Tony gets Pat Mahomes, QB1. Running backs are Jonathan Taylor, RJ Harvey. The other running backs that he's got, they can be competitive for RB2 with Travion Henderson. And then we got some handcuffs here, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright. Receivers are CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Marvin Harrison. That's a pretty sick trio. Bench receivers, Godwin, Ricky Pearsall, Mika Ibuka, and Jack Besh. Tight end, we're hoping for that Dalton Kincaid breakout one of these years. If he can stay healthy, man, I still think Dalton Kincaid can make some noise here. But I probably would have maybe drafted one more tight end. But I think, the leash for Kincaid, it's starting to get a little thin. We'll see if he can do it this year. Let's take a peek here at Aiden's team. We already kind of reviewed Aiden's team a little bit, but it does look pretty good. And he keeps grabbing Colston Loveland. That's his guy. And then we'll just rebound with my team here. My QBs, Drake May, Justin Fields. We'll figure it out. Running backs look pretty good at the top. Jahmyr Gibbs and Omarion Hampton. On the bench, we have Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, and Rico Dowdle. That should be enough. 5 of those guys pretty deep there. Receivers, Drake London, Xavier Worthy, Jameson Williams. I like that trio. It's not super top heavy, but Worthy and Williams are nice wide receiver, 2 3s. But Olave on the bench, Stephon Diggs there. I think one of those guys could move up into the starting unit. And then Josh Downs, one of my favorite sleeper receivers, Trey McBride, defense kicker, whatever. And yeah, I think one of these nights I'm going to have to make a video where we just talk about some lottery tickets, because I definitely think Roshan Johnson, you put him on your bench week 1 or week 2. We know DeAndre Swift's not that good. Like, we know he's not that good. He's a good pass catching back, but he's not a between the tackles guy. He's not a banger. He's not really a volume guy. But I do think Roshan Johnson is a good player. If that happens to fall his way, he could be the lead back for Chicago at some point. So I still believe in Roshan. It's a good call there by Lee. And then, yeah, Roshan, dynasty value still alive, my man. So we're going to move over to sleeper here. And this is from a comment that I got on one of my videos a week or so ago. He requested, this is Kerry G3314. I'll tag you in this video so you can start it here. But he requested a 10-man sleeper PPR, 3 wide receiver rule set, 6th pick. So that's what we're working with here. If you guys are ready to go, I'm going to hit start on this, but we are starting 1, 2, 3 wide receivers, 1 flex, and we got some bench pieces here. So we're going to go ahead and hit start. Looks like we got Aiden at the 1, Ron in the 4, I'm in the 6, Tony in the 7th. I'm not sure who here. Granite Mountain probably at the 9 and Harris at the 10. So without further ado, let's get into it. And we're going to start this sleeper mock draft. Amon-Ra, automatic pick at the 3 spot. Okay. We're on the board here. Saquon Barkley falling to me at the 6 feels a little silly. For Carrie, if you are, watching this and wanting to see how I would mock it, yeah, I'm going to take Saquon Barkley here. But if he were to go in the top, like he should have went 3rd overall in this mock draft, technically. I'm taking Bijan. I'm taking Gibbs. Whatever running back falls there, I do feel pretty good about. Otherwise, you could take CD. But we'll go ahead and take Saquon Barkley at the 106. That sounds pretty good to me. So we'll do that. That's a good point. I never even thought of that. Ben Johnson did get rid of DeAndre Swift and traded up for Jahmyr Gibbs. So Lee is in there at the granite spot number 6. So we'll see what he does here. CeeDee Lamb to Tony at 7. Malik the Freak. Are you guys taking Malik Neighbors in the top 10 here? I do have Malik Neighbors ranked pretty highly in my projections, but I think he's like wide receiver 8 or 9. And I just don't know. And I have him beating all of his numbers from last year. I just don't know if I can see him having a smash year with the ghost of Russell Wilson and, Winston and the rookie quarterback there. So I know it's an upgrade from what he had last year, but I just don't know if I see, I'm taking the swings on the ceiling of Brian Thomas, Puka, CeeDee Lamb, even Drake London. I think I'm taking over Malik Neighbors right now. And Harris with a sweet turn, BTJ and Genty. So Aiden, you're taking Malik wide receiver 4. Interesting. Okay. And at that point, I have a huge tier. I'm on the clock right now, so we'll talk about it in a second. They have Brock Bowers here ranked 13th, which is fine. But I'm gonna double down here on Drake London. I absolutely love Drake London as my wide receiver 1. And yeah, Lee is Granite Mountain number 9. I wanted to look and see. So I have a huge, let me just kind of look at this. So wide receivers 4 through 8. Wide receivers 4 through 8. I have them separated by about 14 points, but to me, that's a huge tier 2. So yeah, I can see Malik Neighbors finishing as high as probably wide receiver 4 this year. I'm probably going to move Amon-Ra down by Malik Neighbors, but I'm probably taking BTJ, London, and JJ just a skosh over Malik right now, but I have no issues with Malik Neighbors at any point. If you want him, go and get him. So quick turnaround here. Ron grabs Josh Allen there at the 4. I don't think so, man. I think it's just standard. I think the settings should just be standard tight end settings. I just have it as full PPR. But the tight ends are ranked pretty highly. I mean, I've seen Brock Bowers as a round 2 pick and Trey McBride as a round 3 pick all summer long so far. So nothing too crazy here, and I don't see the tight ends ranked higher than they should be. So, straight PPR for these guys. But I'm on the clock, 10 seconds left to do it. Fine, I'll take Jackson Smith and Najigba. I think Najigba as a wide receiver 2 feels pretty good. He's got that top 10, top 12 upside for full PPR. You're looking at maybe 100 catches. Sam Darnold should be very comfortable throwing to JSN. And I do like Cooper Kupp being there for JSN, someone to kind of help him evolve. And, honestly, JSN could be a younger version of Cooper Kupp. So I'm hoping that they can kind of to work on some things and elevate JSN's game. Would you guys be more interested in doing these kind of 2 mock draft nights in the future where we do an ESPN and then we can hop over and do a sleeper? I think I like sticking with the 12-team ESPN mock because that moves pretty quickly. And then maybe we just kind of keep hitting these 10-team PPRs over on sleeper. But I'm on the board here. Evans, Cook. I can get quarterback value looks pretty nice here. I do think I want in a 10-team league. I think it puts a little bit more emphasis. I think it puts a little bit more emphasis on the quarterback position. So you know what, Jaden Daniels is falling here. I'll take Jaden Daniels, and I don't think you need to stack Jaden Daniels with McLaurin or I can put on Ertz or something like that. But I think Jaden Daniels on his own is pretty good value. Maybe we look at that next week. How about a Superflex PPR mock draft next week, Wednesday night? We'll do that. Let's sign up for that. So we'll do our regular ESPN mock that we can hop over and do a sleeper mock draft here. 14-team Superflex. That sounds fun. And I just want to say, if you guys are still with us, don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It lets people know this is a interesting channel and a good video to recommend out towards other people. And if you missed it earlier, we're running a promo code on the fantasyfellowship.com. If you head on over to the website, there's a promo code on the main page. It's just the word summer, SUMMER. You get 40% off a year-long package. But we're moving into the 5th round here. I like this team. Joe Burrow's falling here. We're getting into some questionable running backs here. Kenneth Walker and Joe Mixon make me a little bit nervous. I think I'm just going to take the youth here and just I'm going with Omarion Hampton here for carry. Again, we profiled Hampton as a potential top 12 running back this year. I think he's well advanced and way more talented than Najee Harris is at this point of their careers. And Hampton should be racking in a ton of receptions. So I do like that quite a bit. So our team so far, Jaden Daniels, running backs, Barkley and Hampton, receivers, London, JSN. I do think you want to make sure you get a third wide receiver that you feel comfortable about, carry. If it is indeed 3 wide receivers, you want to make sure you have probably 3 receivers through the first 6 or so rounds. So I'm going to be looking there. I do think the value is lining up for us here, whether it's Sutton, Devonta, Worthy, Jameson, Pickens, Olave. Did Zay Flowers go already? Yeah, Aiden grabbed Zay Flowers, so that was a good pick there. Even Devonta in the 5th. That would have been sick. And then I do like Harris grabbing Sam Laporta there. I do want a tight end at some point soon. I don't know what the next tight end that I'm fine with Kelsey. I really like Mark Andrews' value. I think people are kind of sleeping on him quite a bit. But there you have it. Chuba, James Conner, Montgomery, Worthy, Pickens, Olave. Man, I don't want to do the same draft that I just did, but I guess give me Xavier Worthy here. Wide receiver 3. I want a piece of that. Like, we got some good offenses that I'm attached to. The Commanders, the Eagles, Chiefs, and the receivers there, London and JSN, are the clear number 1 targets for their team. So that's a pretty comfortable start, carry, if you're still hanging out with us here. I got 1 quarterback, 3 receivers, and 2 running backs through 6 rounds. So a pretty balanced approach. But I do have, potentially the RB1 in Saquon Barkley. I have potentially another top 5 season from Drake London at receiver. And then I would like to look at tight ends shortly. But for now, we're probably going to, because it is a 3 wide receiver league, I almost want to make sure that I have a 4th receiver that can be my flex, that I can pull up in case one of my top 3 guys doesn't pan out. It's Olave, it's Jordan Addison. Even Jerry Jeudy down here looks a little interesting. I do like Romo Dunze too. But why don't I know Jordan Addison is a good player. I'm going to go Jordan Addison. I know we got some questions at JJ McCarthy, but Addison, man, he produces. He's a year 2 guy, or I guess he's entering his year 3, but he's had nothing but big plays for the Vikings. And then I just missed that Tony with Calvin Ridley. I might have taken Calvin Ridley there had I looked a little longer. I do like Ridley quite a bit. But this run of receivers here, I guess Travis Hunter's in that too, but Pickens, Waddle, Addison, Ridley, Olave, Godwin. Whew, that is a pretty nice, and you can include Jerry Jeudy, you can include Romo Dunze. A really good run of wide receivers here in the 7th round. And a lot of those guys are going to be your wide receiver 3s and 4s. So I think there's some value to be had there. And we'll continue to fill out our team with some running back depth and a tight end soon. And Harris there, he grabs Aaron Jones, man, round 7, pick 10. That's a good value. I like Rome Odunze there too. But we might, the receivers just got hammered. I don't know if I see any value at the receiver position that I super love. Maybe Jerry Jeudy. I could take Travis Kelce. I do like Jonnu Smith here. I think I'm going to continue to wait at that position though. But man, there's not a ton of players that I like at this range. So I'm gonna take Mark Andrews. And I know a lot of people are kind of weird on Mark Andrews, but dude, he had a great end of the season. 10-10. Is this full PPR here? Yeah. 10-10, 9-9, 8-8, 9-9, 8-8. He's always in that mix. Oh, that's the projection. Where's the fantasy points? I don't even know how to read Sleeper. I'm not a big Sleeper fan. But there you go. He was a double-digit monster here, guys. 15, 14, 13, 10, 18, 15. He was coming off a weird, injury season, off season. I think there's a chance Mark Andrews reminds a lot of people just how good he is. And the fact that I can get him as like tight end 7 off the board in the 8th round, I feel pretty good about Mark Andrews. Travis Kelce just goes there to run. Okay. Brandon Ayuk's a lot higher ranked in this sleeper ADP. Debo. You're going to give me Jaylen Warren. I'm going to take Jaylen Warren every time, guys. I do like that Evan Ingram pick a lot there by Tony. He might be setting up a little Bo Nix Evan Ingram action here. But Evan Ingram's one of those guys that, if I miss on some of these top end tight ends, I think there's a chance Evan Ingram is the leading guy in receptions for Bo Nix this year. I think that's a really good pick. And Evan Ingram definitely at the top of my list here. Because now we're at the point where it's like Jonnu Smith. I think Njoku could be a tight end sleeper just because he could be the best receiving option on that team. So Njoku intrigues me a lot. Looks like Jonnu Smith just went off the board here. And at this point, like you need a tight end by this point, especially in a 10-man league. Aiden's going to find his Colston Loveland soon. And Diggs and Debo, I would have liked both those guys on the team. But Jaden Reed's available. Let me just do my due diligence here. Running backs are getting nipped a little bit, but I can still get Ramondre, guys. That's too low. He's the start. Do we need to – I just want to go on a little soapbox here. I think Ramondre Stevenson and TreVeyon Henderson's ADPs should be flip-flopped. I don't get it. I like TreVeyon Henderson a lot, but we have to remember – like they paid Ramondre a lot of money. I think what you're looking at in New England is they clearly want to run the ball. And I think Ramondre is going to lead this team in carries. He's probably going to be the goal line back and short yardage back. Last year they brought in Antonio Gibson and they did a lot of nice things with him. It's a new coaching staff this year. But you're going to probably look at something similar to what the Lions have built. And I think just the new Lions approach over there is you want a thunder and lightning type running back. I think Stevenson's a tremendous value at this point because you're getting a guy that's going to lead his team in touches. Even though TreVeyon, great player, round 2 pick, I love TreVeyon. I think we're kind of disrespecting Ramondre just a little bit there. I want to pivot back to some wide receivers here. I'll take Josh Downs. I think he's fine. Again, on the bench, wide receiver 5, potential number 1 receiver for his team. And we do need to start thinking about what this team looks like with Daniel Jones playing the majority of games. Because if it is Daniel Jones, that's an upgrade to the whole passing pie. That's an upgrade to Jonathan Taylor. It's an upgrade to Michael Pittman, to Josh Downs, to maybe even Alec Pierce and Adonai Mitchell, and Tyler Warren, who kind of goes undrafted in redraft leagues. So the Colts offense with Daniel Jones, that's a different team. That's a totally different team, man, with Daniel Jones. And, there's a ton of tight ends here that I still like. I think Jake Ferguson, he didn't catch a single touchdown last year. He's catching touchdowns this year. He's a sleeper tight end. I think Tucker Kraft for Green Bay. I think Dallas Goddard's in a contract year. And especially, we know he's a number 3 target, But if anything happens to A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert gets that action that gets him paid in 2026. I can see that totally. You also have Pat Freiermuth. Aaron Rodgers has always been ultra efficient throwing to his tight ends, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Big Pat comes through. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Ertz puts another top 10, top 12 season. Mike Gesicki down here. I think there's a lot of tight ends that I like this year that are pretty deep. But hey, we're on the board here. Saquon, Hampton, Warren, and Ramondre. I do like Scatabo on the bench. Receivers here, I could take a chance on one of these rookies. You know, Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden, Rashid Shaheed all look pretty nice. QB2, I don't know if I need to pull a QB2. So I'm going to take a chance on Cam Scatabo here for the Giants. We haven't really talked about Scatabo on this show much, but there's a chance that he might just be better than Tyrone Tracy. And when I did my rookie running back data study, Scatabo was off the charts. And I know he played some seasons at Sacramento State or whatever, but for him to go to Arizona State and basically do the same things that he's been doing in a lower conference was pretty impressive. So I think Scatabo is really good all-around guy. He can do the pass pro. He can do the catching. There's a chance that he might be better than Tyrone Tracy this year. So on my bench, lottery pick, we'll see what happens. So I think I'm 5 deep at both running back and wide receiver. Backup tight end, anybody? Nah. Man, I think at this point, yeah, we'll grab Dak here. We'll grab Dak QB2. Whatever. Just in case. Daniels can take some hits. So we just have defense and kicker left. So there you go, Carrie. I ended up with Jaden Daniels, QB1. Running backs are Saquon and Hampton. Drake London, JSN, Xavier Worthy at receiver. Mark Andrews at tight end, and Jordan Addison there. I do like the flex competition that I built into this draft, whether it's Jordan Addison, Jalen Warren, Ramondre Stevenson, Josh Downs. I think one of those guys will end up being a good player for you at the flex. And then it does give you just a lot of versatility with your running back and your receiver depth. Scatabo was the one luck, the lottery type pick for us. And then Dak Prescott. Probably didn't need Dak Prescott, but we got him anyways. Let's go ahead and grab a defense here. I don't know. The Steelers are ranked a little too low here. I'll take them, assuming J.J. Watt's back with them. No issues with the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And then we'll walk it off with a kicker. And I just want to say thank you to everybody hanging out on a Wednesday night here. It's freaking hot. It's 80 degrees here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin tonight. We got some storms coming, but hot June weather. Kicker. Fine. I'll take the Lions kicker, just, dome stuff. Yeah, for me, I don't put a lot of faith in the defense and kicker because I'm gonna figure out my defenses throughout the year. I'm gonna figure out a team that I like that gets kicker points and just kind of sit with that, and we'll kind of figure it out. But that was for Carrie G. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a fun double. Yeah. This was a fun double draft night here. So I think we might have found something that we can continue to do. Like, gets the content up to about an hour per night, 2 mock drafts every Wednesday night. And I'm at the point now where I've had a lot going on in my life personally. We've had a lot of things going on. I just bought a house last year, just remodeled the basement. I got married this year. A ton of things have happened, and now we're finally slowing down, and I'm going to get to enjoy the summer. So we'll be cranking out a lot of videos, talking sleepers and projections and things like that. We'll get some ranking videos out for you guys, do some best ball mock drafts, all that good stuff. So I want to say thank you for hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight, and I appreciate every one of you. I do a lot because, I wouldn't do this if I didn't have an audience, and the fact that I have even 12 people watching with me tonight means a lot to me. I appreciate and love every one of you. So thank you. Like the video, subscribe. That helps us grow. Again, thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Peace. Got me feeling icy.